Observation from the Taqiyya Reports I was given, and this all it struck a chord. I know I'm like a supervillain, but for a brief moment, it struck a chord of empathy in me. And only for a moment, for a brief moment, just a chord of empathy was stricken in me. You know, I had a brief moment of pity for the RedLibs in the CPUSA. And not for the reasons you would think. If anything, this should make you hate them more, but it didn't for me. It made me pity them. It made me sad for them. And it made me believe maybe they can be better after they're reformed. But I was thinking about it because I was told, and this was the pattern, all of the RedLibs in the CPUSA, they're like superficially, if you ask them in private or and you look at their Twitter accounts, they're all anti-Democrat. But they are so scared. They are so terrified of the old guard leadership, these old people. And that's all the proof you need that RedLibs are just all of their extremism, all of their infantile politics, all of their ridiculous woke nonsense. It all stems from an inability to think independently because they are subservient to more entrenched powers. Usually this is like the university establishment that they're involved with, or it's like some other institution they're in. But it made me especially sad that in the Communist Party, they were so scared and they lacked the courage to stand up to the older leadership. Even though they knew what Biden is doing is wrong, the Democrat policy is wrong, like they just don't have the courage. And I really condemn the craven ones that suck up to leadership and become sycophants just because they want to rise through the ranks. I mean, screw those guys, right? But for the ones that are just genuinely... Here's why I felt pity for them. Because I could see they don't have confidence in themselves. They have so much... how should I put it? They lack confidence. They're not confident in themselves. They don't believe in their own power. They don't believe in their own ability to make an impact. And they have a very low self-esteem. That's what I wanted to say. They have very low self-esteem. And then I thought to myself, and I thought about what I have brought to the table for a new generation of young communists. And you know what? I haven't, contrary to what people say, I haven't brought to the table bullying the weak and, you know, punching down. Even if I was this guy who just punches down and bullies people, and I don't think that's what I am, but even if I was, that's not bringing anything new to the table. It couldn't possibly explain why infrared's been able to become what it has. Because the truth is, I have empowered people. I've empowered people who thought that they were weak, that they had low self-esteem, that they couldn't raise their voice and have an impact. I am inspiring people to have the courage to believe in their own authority, to believe in their own ability to be powerful, to uplift them. You know, I don't believe in torturing people. Like, if someone is inevitably a weak, spineless, soy, low-T person, and nothing can be done to change that, I would never be harsh on them. Because at that point, you're just torturing them for being something they can't change. If it seems like I'm bullying people, it's because I believe they could be better. I believe they could do better. And a lot of people miss that, you know, they really miss the point. The point isn't to torture people. It's like Uncle Sam saying, you, right? It's like me saying that, get your act together, you know, stand up to Joe Sims, stand up to the leadership. It's right to rebel, like Mao said, right? I want people to have courage. I want them to have courage. I want them to have a high self-esteem. I want them to draw authority from belief. I want them to have confidence in the things that they do because of the strength of their belief and their conviction. You don't need to be intimidated. by the old guard. And a lot of the old guard are good people, don't get me wrong. But you don't need to be intimidated by their bullying and their pressuring and their attempts to make you feel small and make you feel weak and make you feel like your voice doesn't matter. You don't need to submit to that. You can stand up for what's right. You can do it. I'm giving you permission. Anyone asks, say Haz al-Din is the one who gave me permission. And that's all I want to do. That's all that I care about doing. You know, I don't care about torturing people. What good is that? That doesn't produce anything. Suffering is unproductive. And the only people who like to inflict suffering on people to no avail, to no end, are people who are still fascinated by their own internal suffering. And they can't get over it. So they want to inflict it upon others just so that there's something out there that recognizes their own internal suffering, validates it, and confirms that it's real. It's a form of acquiring recognition of their own internal turmoil. I don't seek that. I seek to build. And if you understand the details of that convention and how it went, it's like the RedLibs did not agree with what the leadership was pushing, but they had so little self-esteem. It's not just they were scared in the sense of being cowards. It was more like it's like they're genuinely like oppressed in some kind of way. Like they beat themselves up so much and they just have their heads down and they walk with their heads down and they just have such little self-worth. They're so afraid to raise their voice, to stand on it, you know? And you know what? I say this to anyone, but let me say to these red liberals, you guys, you don't have to go down this path. You don't have to live a life being depressed and having no self-esteem and being suicidal. You don't have to choose this path. You don't have to have so little self-worth. You could join us and be part of this power. You could have power. Join us and have the strength, have the authority to stand on what you believe, to do things, right? And that invitation is always open. Don't be afraid, that you were once a red lib and now you want to join us and we're going to ostracize you. No. A lot of people here used to come from that side of the park or whatever. And the door is always open to people who want to join this cause and join this army. We fight each other so much, but like we're from the same generation. And I want to believe that when it comes down to it, like at the core level, like we do want the same things. Like, okay, you have blue hair and you're like gay or whatever. Like, but that shit just doesn't matter. You know, it's like we're all in this generation getting screwed over. And we want a sovereign communist form of politics. I'm not joining the pan left, all right? I'm a Marxist-Leninist only. But I'm just saying, it's like the red line is like, are we going to be slaves of the Democrats or are we going to be communists with a capital C? And if you genuinely believe in being a communist with a capital C, you know, we're all on the same team. Screw the fucking Democrats. Screw these old people trying to use the young to fight their battles. Thank you, Indigenous. And I'm not trying to draw a generational war here because there's plenty of old people that are great and that are also fighting the same fight as us. But I guess the reason I'm mentioning the generational thing is it's like, because these young people who are red libs, honestly, a lot of them just don't know better. They're very lost and they're uneducated and they're misguided. And that's really where I'm coming from with this. It's like they don't have a sense of empowerment and courage to stand up for what they know in their heart is true and correct and just. They don't have the motivation. They don't have the courage, you know? And I don't take it personally. I know these people have done a lot of nasty things toward me, but, you know, you can't take shit personally when you're at the scale that I'm working at, you know? It's like, it's just not personal. Anyway, like, am I going to be angry at a tsunami or some shit? I mean, it's just like, there's just such a confluence of meaningless factors that lead people to be so hostile and angry toward each other. And they're not necessarily personal. They're just kind of accidents, just wrong place, wrong time type of thing. You know, the right wingers that are constantly making fun of leftists all the time, pan leftists, for being a bunch of fucking, like, you know, they have social anxiety, they're weak, they're pathetic, they're cringe, all this kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, all that's true. But it's like, so what now? Do we just torture them? No. Why don't we show them the way? Why don't we show them an alternative? You know? And leave that door open for anybody who so deigns to want to open it, want to pass through it. That's just my view, you know? We're going to be fighting for communism with a capital C.